Good evening, everybody. My name is Dei'Marlon Scisney, and welcome to the masterclass on demystifying AI for your small business. I appreciate your time this evening. So let's jump right in. I'll start off with my introduction and who I am. So again, my name is Dei'Marlon Scisney, but please feel free to call me D, the data guy. I don't like to talk about myself too much, but I do want to shed some context on just my experience in AI from a policy perspective, from an implementation perspective, and also my education background as well, really equipping me to be able to teach and educate small businesses, nonprofits, state and local entities on AI enablement. So a little bit about me. I am a commissioner and working on the Seattle AI policy. I serve as a Seattle Technology Advisory Board member, so working with the mayor and city council to develop policy around digital equity and bridging the digital divide. As I mentioned, I've helped shape the responsible AI and data policy across Washington State. I'm a member of the Global Council for Responsible AI, so working on an international scale to actually develop ethical frameworks for AI. So how are we using AI responsibly? And more recently, a member of the Gen AI Collective, which was born out of Washington, D.C., and has since moved to the Seattle area as well. Aside from that, I've trained over 200 small businesses, nonprofits, and public agencies in AI enablement and data enablement. So how do we understand our data, bring that in, store it, process it, visualize it? Because before we can do AI with our business, we first need that structured data and an understanding of the data to train whatever AI that we'll be going into. And so I'll get into that and the difference between AI engineering and AI as a service, which many of us have adopted using tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney, et cetera. Also, I have an AI engineering background. I was formerly at Amazon Web Services for about 7 years as a data and ML engineer, working with startups that were spending $200 a month on the cloud to startups in Series E form that were spending $100,000 a month on the cloud, and really building tools, right, to bridge technical gaps. And then aside from that, I was recently invited as a contributor to the AI Frontier Forum, so working with Congresswoman Strickland and Plaskett and the Congressional Black Caucus to talk about the state of AI here in Washington. Believe it or not, Washington State ranks #2 in the nation for AI jobs. And so how do we equip and upskill individuals to be able to take on those jobs? Because AI is not replacing jobs, it's reshaping how we interact with those jobs. And I'll get into that in just a second as well. So that's a little bit about me. So not only on, and then my master's is also in social data science from the Johns Hopkins, before I went into Amazon. And so not only just the education side, the implementation side, but also working on the policy side from a grassroots level to even the Congresswoman as well. So artificial intelligence, right, for those of you that may not know, just in layman's terms, is getting the machine, right, the drone, the bot, whatever that is, the robot, to think like a human, right? It's getting the machine, the drone, the bot to think like a human. But in order for it to do that, it has to go through 2 stages, right? So you can think of artificial intelligence as the big circle, right? But then there's 2 circles within that. There's machine learning and there's deep learning, right? And so when we talk about machine learning, in order to get the machine Siri, right? When I say, hey Siri, and Siri actually responds to me, right? She understands and reasons, right? What I just said with, hey Siri, the machine needs to be trained first. And so machine learning comes first, and that's the data, right? So Siri is trained on data to understand that when I say, hey Siri, she's gonna respond. Now, once I say what I wanna say to Siri and she reasons and understands that, that's taking it one step further with deep learning, right? And so in order for artificial intelligence, for Siri to to think like a human, for Alexa to respond to you as well, it has to first go through machine learning, and then there's also deep learning that's involved in that. So does that make sense, right? Just in layman's terms, artificial intelligence getting the machine to think like a human, but in order for it to do that, it needs to be trained on the data sets, right? So the machine needs to learn. There's supervised and unsupervised. We won't get into all of that, but basically it sounds just as it says, right? Supervised is that I'm supervising, I'm telling the machine, hey, this is this type of data that's going into here, right? So you can label it. Unsupervised is that I'm not telling the machine what data this is, and it's learning on its own, right? And it's reasoning on its own. And then it gets into deep learning a little bit more to actually reason. So when I say, hey, Siri, and then I say, what time is it? It actually understands me and then will tell me the time. Does that make sense? Okay. Awesome, awesome. So these are some common tools that you all might already know about. How many of you all have used these tools? Yes, so we got ChatGPT, right? We got Google Gemini, Copilot, Midjourney, N8N. I'll get into that a little bit more, but when we talk about AI automation and productivity, and then for writing proposals as well. And so within this, we'll go through each one of these and exactly what they are. But I'm curious, just of these, which one are you all using the most of? ChatGPT. Okay. Okay, and we'll walk through exactly what ChatGPT is, walk through all the functions of ChatGPT in just a moment. But ChatGPT is essentially a conversational AI chatbot, right? So meaning that you can have a conversation with it. You can put in there what exactly you're looking for, and then it responds, right, based on what you put in there. We'll go over a little bit more. It's not so much what you say, it's how you say it in there, which is a form of prompt engineering. That's one of the trainings that is on you all's one-pager that I provide at the end of this session. That's a free training from Vanderbilt on prompt engineering, because oftentimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it to get the outcome in this chatbot. And so we'll go through this in just a second, but I just wanted to go over some common AI tools that you all may already know. Now, before we get into this, I do want to, let me escape out of here, go over the tools themselves, right? So I just want to set the foundation for ChatGPT and Gemini specifically. I won't be going over too much of Microsoft. How many Microsoft people do we have in here? Okay, so we do have a couple. Is it mostly Google Workspace? So we'll see the difference. I'll go through Microsoft a little bit as well, but the difference between Gemini and how it's embedded in the workspace, right? But Microsoft has also embedded Copilot within their workspace as well. But before we get into all of that, let's start with ChatGPT. So this is the one that started it all, that really democratized access to AI for us, right? Access to knowledge. And so what this tool is, right? Again, it's a conversational AI chatbot. So here you can put in your prompt, right? And within there, again, there's trainings on prompt engineering. Now, I do just want to kind of go over a few of the things here. So on the side, on the left-hand side, when you open up the toolbar, you will see this thing called GPTs. Now, ChatGPT is the mother, right? I like to think of it as the mother, the one that started it all, right? And GPTs are individual chats that are built on the backbone of ChatGPT, right? But they're just more specialized. So when we go into these GPTs, we can find things, right, that connect to other systems, right? So these GPTs will interact with Canva. These GPTs will interact with Google Forms to where you don't have to create your Google Forms. These GPTs will act as a image generator, a data analyst, right? And anything that you're looking for on this end. So let's just say we want a data analyst. So this is one example, but you can put marketing in here. If you want to connect to Canva, I've created all of my Google Forms here, so I don't have to go in and create each question in my Google Forms. And so we'll start with just this and just walk through this, but if there's any other examples that you all want to see, we can definitely walk through that. So this is a data analyst, right? that will actually code and interpret, data that's here. And once you're here, you can start the chat. And essentially, let's just drag and drop this in here, which is a spreadsheet. So what I just did is I went to my downloads and I dragged and dropped the spreadsheet in here. You can also add photos. You can add files directly from your computer into this as well, right, to be able to interact with the system. And so let's just ask it what data is here. It will then analyze the Excel spreadsheet that's there, right? And then it gives me what's there, right? So it goes into the columns that are there. I can generate a visual analysis from this. If I wanted more information, we can dive deeper into this. Let's say, what insights can I pull from this data? And then it goes into the different types of data that is there, right? And how I can segment it by different groups, things of that nature. I can generate visualizations from here as well. So if I wanted to say, generate a visualization for me around the data. So let's see. Let's just do age distribution. All right, so here we can see age distribution, right? So it's a static graph that all I did was just feed it my Excel spreadsheet, right? It went in, it analyzed the data that was there, it told me exactly what was there, right? I'm able to pull out some insights from that and then start generating charts and graphs from that as well. So if you're sitting on Excel spreadsheets, you can actually leverage this as a data analyst to start pulling insights from specific programs, from your POS information, from whatever that may be specifically for your business. So this is one GPT of hundreds of thousands of GPTs. But I just wanted to let you all know that ChatGPT is the mother, right? Think of it as the backbone for these GPTs, but they're much more specially trained on specific data to do specific work there. So do you all understand what GPTs are? Awesome. So outside of GPTs, I wanted to also bring you all's attention to projects, right? So another feature in ChatGPT are projects, so that you never have to constantly go back to your chats, right? So right now, as it stands, if I want to go back to any of my chats that I talked about, a year ago or a month ago or whatever that is, I have to search for them, right? Which is perfectly fine. We can search by keywords and things of that nature. But what would it look like to actually create a project and have all of those chats within there? So all of the grants that I apply for, all of the RFPs that I apply for are within the same project, so that I don't have to retrain the system on my business, who I am, right? All of that. It is just within that project, that grants folder. And so then I can drag and drop any other grants, any other RFPs in there, and it will automatically outline based on the information that's already there. This is also on your phone, right? So if you have your phone, you can, I was at, I'm gonna be a little bit honest here, I was at a rather posh whiskey bar, right? I don't really drink fine whiskey. I don't know what that is, right? And the menu was extensive. I mean, it was like 5 pages long. So what did I do as a millennial? I took pictures of the menu, uploaded it into ChatGPT, and asked ChatGPT, what is the sweetest whiskey that's on this menu? And it went through hundreds of items and gave me the top 3 out of all of them, right? And so, for example, right, you can use it on your phone. So if you are interacting with things or signs or buildings or just day-to-day, don't forget that ChatGPT can be downloaded on your phone as well. A lot of times we get so caught up in using these tools on our desktops that we forget that we have a whole virtual assistant that's right here in our phones. So as I mentioned, you can add photos, you can add information from different apps, so you can connect to your Google Drive, you can connect to your Microsoft Drive, and then upload files directly from that as well. Another thing here that I want to mention are these tools. So within ChatGPT, there's DALL-E, there's Midjourney, right, to be able to create images. ChatGPT also allows you to scrape the internet. So this comes into play whenever you're looking for grants, if you're looking for RFPs, if you're looking for funding, if you're looking for anything like that, right? You can actively search the internet for all the available content that's out there, right? I was just looking for a digital equity grant and was able to find one for $75,000, right? Putting it in to this, and I'll show you all in just a moment, but it can actively scrape the internet and pull any readily available information as well. It can also write or code. So ChatGPT is very great at coding if you all are into that. Another thing is the deep research. So this is imperative for anybody that wants to do economic impact studies, disparity reports, anything like that. The deep research function is absolutely incredible. It will cite every single source for you. In addition to citing sources, it pulls relevant information to the topic that you're looking for. So it actively scrapes the internet and then will scrape relevant sources that are in the now for you to be able to get a detailed report on, say, the state of Black businesses in Washington, right? For example. So aside from ChatGPT, I wanted to show you all Gemini and how it interacts within the workspace. So Gemini, for those of you that don't know, it was formerly Google Bard. Google Bard transitioned to Gemini, and it's Google's internal AI system. And so Gemini, the reason why I love Gemini so much is because of the way that Google has embedded it into every facet of the workplace. And a lot of small businesses run on Google Workplace, right? Or Workspace, excuse me. And so within there, I want to start with the drive, then I'll go into sheets, then I'll go into slides, and then I'll go into your emails, and it can actually categorize and label and do different things with your emails as well. But essentially, right, I'm in my drive, and let's say, okay, so I'm in this PowerPoint. Let's actually go back here, and let's just say, all right. So when I click this down below, if you all can see this, this is the Demystifying AI PowerPoint folder that you all will have access to as well. And so when you click on this, right, you can see that there's a couple options. So to access Gemini, it's this diamond purple thing at the top right, and then also you can access it here. So immediately when I click it in my Google Drive, I can actually summarize the entire folder itself, right? So I no longer have to go into every single one of my folders within Drive. I can actually see, okay, what's in there, and you know, all of the files that are in there. So it goes into exactly what's in the file. I can export this to Google Docs. It syncs directly with Google Docs. And I'll show you all this in just a second. But another cool thing that I can do is say, okay, based on this information, create an FAQ for me to give out. Let's say that. And it will actually take that information and start generating an FAQ. And so all of this based on the files that were in there, right? And so then I can export this to Google Docs, and it creates the doc for me. And then as soon as I click on it, now here's my FAQ. And I can store this in my drive, right? It gives me my sources on where it pulled it from, all of that, right? Even has my Calendly information, all of the stuff that on how to contact there. But not only that, right? So let's say, okay, I've gotten a one-page, or I've gotten an FAQ. Let's say, okay, now create a one-pager around this content. Now, I did not do this for y'all, just for context. I did not do this for y'all, but let's see what it comes up with. And this is essentially the one-pager that it just generated from that information as well. So, you know, you can see there's some formatting issues that we need to go in and take care of, but all in all, it captures all the information that I have within the PowerPoint. And so this can save a lot of time, right? Not only does it analyze this, but it can create new folders. So if I ask it, hey, I need you to create a new folder for me for grants, and then take, and you can actually label, right? So any of these that are not in folders, you can actually tell Gemini to put it into folders for you and to create a new folder for you, right? So it becomes essentially your assistant within Drive. Let's move into Sheets. And let's look at this youth data. All right, so a lot of data is here, right? But let's highlight it and let's use Gemini to analyze the data that's there. So it comes in, so it has, okay, there's age distribution, there's primary interest. So now let's visualize the data, right? And so it actually started analyzing it and pulling that data and creating the static charts that go along with that data as well. And what you can do is actually insert this right into the sheet there. Now, what you're seeing here is AI augmentation. What do I mean by that? Augmentation is a fancy word for making something more robust, right? And so we're moving into this world where AI is not going to replace jobs. It's reshaping the way that we use the technology and we interact with the jobs, right? We have entered into the third industrial revolution, right? Originally with the Industrial Revolution, then the computing age, and now we're in the age of intelligence. And so we are seeing this moment where we're moving into AI augmented, right? So this is still Excel, it's just overlaid with AI now, right? And much like Microsoft, if you go actually into Excel, Excel has Copilot now, just like Gemini is within Google Sheets. And so it is just becoming AI augmented. It is still the same thing. It is just now overlaid with AI. So then you don't have to memorize things like formulas and things of that nature. So this is Gemini in here as well. You can ask it again to create formulas, interact in any type of way here. If you want to pull some type of data, if you want to create some type of visualization, you can do all of that here. And heck, if you don't even know, right, if you're not a data analyst and just want to know where to start, you can even ask it, well, what insights can I pull from this? And what graphs or charts would be good for this, right? And then go from there and actually generate them as well. So aside from, we talked about Drive, we talked about this as well, we can talk about slides. And then you can interact with Gemini here, much like you can interact with Copilot in PowerPoint. How many of y'all have used Designer in PowerPoint? Like at the top, you can click Designer and it'll actually like shape your slide for you and like move different things for you. No one has ever used Designer? Yes? Okay, all right. So I'll show you all what that is in just a second. But Designer at the top right corner, it allows you to be able to create a slide or, let's just ask, what can Gemini do in slides, right? So it can generate images, generate new slides, it can summarize the presentation, write or rewrite content, and then even reference or pull information from your Drive files and Gmail emails as well. And so that's Gemini here in slides. I'll pause for questions. I'll get into specific examples and demos through this, but I just want to show you all that Gemini is fully embedded into the workspace through and through. So now let's get into the more practical use, right, of utilizing, and again, I want to stick with ChatGPT and Gemini just for the sake of the multitude of tools, and then we'll get into AI agents as well. So how y'all feeling? Y'all feeling good? Good? All right. Is everything making sense? Just want to check in. So the first thing is marketing, right? So AI essentially is going to take what's in your head and then put it into words, right? So that's what I mean by conversationalist. And so anything from ads, your blogs, right? Copywriting information, brainstorming, generating ideas, anything like that, I will typically use ChatGPT for that. So going back to what you said, kind of what platforms do I use? Anything around that type of stuff, I will use ChatGPT for. And we can walk through exactly what that is and how to do that. But I've also provided on the one-pager the prompts, a list of prompts that you all can use just in marketing and content creation and stuff as well. So in order to write a good grant or proposal, right, in order for you to get an outcome that you're looking for that's tailored specifically for your business, you need to first train the system on your business and who you are, right? And so what does that look like? So let's get into ChatGPT, and then we can start a new chat here. I'm just gonna go to my LinkedIn. And so what I'll typically do for somebody that, again, I have projects that are already trained on my company and know exactly who I am, et cetera. But for somebody that may be new, right, you can start a project in this instance, or you can just, ask ChatGPT just around your business. And so what I typically do is I'll highlight, you can just highlight all the information, right? And you can throw that into ChatGPT. And then my business information, I'll just go to the data guys, the dataguys.org. Now you can put your website in here as well, but I don't choose to do that because it won't pull everything all the time. And so what I'll do is just, again, Command A everything, right? Put that information in there. Go into the data guys and who we are. Oops. Right, who I am, the data guy. And then I'll take this information, right? And I'll say, based on this information, I need a write-up that describes what my business does and who I am for a grant. Let's just say that. Like what, like a 30-second or like a elevator pitch type of thing? Okay. I need my elevator pitch. And you see how conversational I am with it? That's one of the tips on here, is that you can speak with it as if you're speaking to a normal person. And so here is this. So let's see, a Scisney social impact, doing business as, so I got my DBA, the data guys. We build data systems that drive equity, not just efficiency. Led by Dei'Marlon Scisney, a nationally recognized AI strategist and data engineer, our 12 persons. So I got the number of people. Firm specializes in transforming raw data into actionable insights through ethical AI, privacy-first infrastructure, and community-led metrics, right? So let's take this and let's say, okay, this seems like a lot of fluff. So I actually want this to be a bit more personable. Anytime you want AI to be more humanistic, you always say, make this more personable. Make this more humanistic, right? So we can say, make this more personable. And there we go. So it's a little bit more personable now. So we believe impact shouldn't live in a spreadsheet. It should be seen, felt, and measured in the lives of people, right? I'm Dei'Marlon Scisney, a data engineer and social impact strategist, and I lead a team of 12 engineers, analysts, and equity champions who build data systems that actually serve community. That sounds much better, right? It resonates much more with community, with people, as opposed to the one that was just up above. But it was able to pull this information because I actually trained it on who I am and then asked the question after. So you can go in and say, hey, based on what you know about my business, it can scrape information from the internet, but it's much better if you actually train the system on who you are. And now based on this, I can now move into the next step. But before I move into the grants and proposals, because this is already trained on me. So based on this information, now let's move into number 2. So we talked about marketing, and now we're going to get into grant and proposal writing. So how many of you all are applying for contracts or are applying for grants or anything like that for your business? Perfect. Every hand should be up. So there are two sites that I use personally that I talk about all the time, and we'll go through these as well. One is BidPrime, 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 and the other one is Grants Watch. So Grants Watch. BidPrime is a central contract management system, so it actually scrapes all of the available contracts from Commerce, from DES, from Department of Health, from all of these different entities, and centralizes it for you to be able to search and query, right? And then GrantWatch does the same thing, specifically for grants. And so we'll go through these in just a second. So the first part, so let's go to BidPrime, which is right here. All right. So BidPrime, you can see, and I can give you all my login information to this as well. But BidPrime, essentially, I am greeted with an inbox every day, right? And so this actually just came in 19 hours ago from the Department of the Navy. And these contracts are coming in that are data and AI specific because I have told the system based on my NAICS code, or the North Atlantic Identity Commodities System, I think that's what it is, the NAICS code, that, hey, I want to see data and AI specific contracts. So it sends me an inbox, right? All of these are within different states, or excuse me, all of these are within the state of Washington, but different entities. And then you can search, right? So you can filter by the agency type. You can look at airports, highways, fire, rescue, K-12, law enforcement, nonprofit, right? And let's just say I just want to look up the available data contracts that are here right now in the state of Washington. So I just typed in data, and all of these, right, so let me zoom out just a little bit. All of these have data, right? So traffic data collection with Snohomish County. There's a data center completion that's going on with University of Washington. There's a rebuild. There was one that I was just looking at for the plot data, yes, and then another one on a chat bot that's being built out, right? So let's just say, okay, well, I found an RFP that looks interesting. So let's just say this one, oh, okay, you have to request the documentation. So, oh, that has expired. So let's go with traffic data collection. So in the system, you can actually see all of the documentation, right? So when I click on it, it will actually pull up the RFPs that are there, and then I can go to the main site. Okay, I'm not a robot, I agree. Okay, it looks like they've taken that one down. So let's take a look at this one, no worries. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the Western Washington Forest Inventory Plot Data Collection. So when you click on it, right, you can actually see all of the available RFP material, so you never have to truly leave the site. Or you can go to the original place on where it was published, right? So it's webs, and I need to log into webs. But as I mentioned, it scrapes webs, it scrapes commerce, it scrapes all of these different entities for it to then be put on there. Now, how it's able to pull that information is through keyword searches. So once I found an RFP that is of interest, I can then download that. So let's just say I want to download all of this information. And then from there, I want to put it back into, right, this right here. So I've already trained the system on exactly who I am, what my business is. You know, I've given it information from LinkedIn. I've given it information from my website on past projects, all of that stuff. So then I can say, based on what you know about my business, is this a viable RFP? Give me a score out of 100. So then I don't have to go through and actually search or read all of these RFPs, right? So let's see, so it's reading them. And then it will give me a viability score. And it is a zip file, so it may have to take some time to get through all of these documents. Okay, so it's saying that it's not a fit for me, right? So it's saying that the RFP requires fencing contractors, physical work, right? So it gave me an evaluation score of 22 out of 100, right? And then it goes into technical alignment. So there's no data, there's no AI, there's no engineering that's in here, right? My past performance and what I've done does not apply here, right? So this just saved me so much time. Instead of having to go through a 50-page RFP and read, I can just ask based on it being trained on my business, is this a viable opportunity? Now let's find an opportunity that actually is viable. So I just downloaded this, I'm gonna put this in here and I'm gonna say, now based on what you know about my business, create a comprehensive outline for everything that is needed in the RFP. Do not leave anything out, right? And so then it'll actually read the document, and then it'll go in and actually create the outline for me, right? So it has my cover letter, what I need to include there. It has each section, right? It started even filling out some of this information. I don't have like my UBI and all of that stuff on my website, but I can put that information in here, or I can, copy it from another proposal and put that in there, and it will put it in there as well. It started even synthesizing some of the other information as well from my website, all of this. It goes into the technical proposal. It then goes into pricing, all of these things. And so this is the comprehensive outline that I can then take and start writing section by section, right? And take each piece, right? And ensure that nothing is left out, and even create a checklist for this RFP so that I don't leave any addendums or any documentation out. Awesome. So we've moved through the elevator pitch. So we've gotten to the outline, right? And now taking each piece of the outline, I just want to take a moment because I have a whole class on this where I actually train businesses how to use AI for grant writing and RFP writing. So we can take the whole time just talking about this. But I do want to bring out one part, which I always find is the coolest part in this. Of course, the checklist that I talked about, but is the pricing proposal. So within the pricing proposal, right, you can actually have it develop the whole pricing proposal, the structure for you. So say based on I just know that this is 200K. I think that it was offered, create the pricing proposal, and I need it line by line and broken down by hours and time. You gotta be really specific. Very specific, very specific. The more specific, the better, right? And so now, right, it'll actually give you a summary table of everything that's here, the licensing, right, the data pipeline, the training, all of that stuff, the maintenance that's needed, and all of that. And so now, it didn't do exactly what I wanted it to. So I want this to reflect my team. I have 2 data engineers, let's say that, an AI engineer, and a VP for customer success on this. And so then it will give it a per hour rate, right? Bake that in, start kind of showing you who is there, and then providing that detailed line item. This had some software licensing that also got in here. So that's why you're seeing like software licensings and trainings and things like that. But it does bring in like the data engineer, AI engineer at 175, right? The total cost there and things of that nature. So you can actually create your whole kind of pricing proposal here. And let's just say now take this information and put it into a table I can copy. And then it will then take that and actually generate, whoa, this isn't what I'm wanting. Give me just a second. So my prompt was wrong. So you can go up and edit. I didn't tell you all, you can go back and edit the previous prompt as well with the pencil. But does this make sense from a grant and RFP writing perspective? The other thing I wanted to show you all is the active search on the web. So let's just say, I need you to show me available contracts or grants I can apply for my company. Today is June 17th. Make sure they are current and don't expire within the next week. Instead of going to GrantWatch and GrantWatch and Bid Prime, now we can start looking at, so it looks like that Seattle Digital Equity Grants, there's some 2026 applications, United Way Impact Fund, Washington State Commerce, let's see what this is. I mean, they provide links as well to this, so you can actually go to it. Let's see here. And then not yet open. There's some other ones as well that it would pull. But it essentially scraped the internet and can provide, you know, kind of real-time funding opportunities for you all as well, based on the internet and searching the web. Does this make sense? Awesome. Any other questions on grants and RFP writing? We will move on to the next one, with streamlining operations. So templates, checklists, docs. We've kind of already gone over checklists and all of that. Any questions that you all have over that? I really want to get into AI agents because I feel like that's going to blow you all's mind when you find out that you actually can have workers that can work on behalf of you while you're sleeping. Awesome. Okay, so streamlining operations is good. Customer service, right? So FAQs, we went over that, email replies, scripts, ticketing. I'll go over ticketing a little bit more within the AI agent side of things, but the AI agent can actually categorize your tickets for you. So any customer inquiries that you get in, right, it will actually categorize the tickets and you can resolve them right there in the system. You can interact with that person right there in the system. And so I'll show you all that, especially for people that may have businesses like, you know, on the services side. It's really good for me too. Like if I have any open tickets, like technical support tickets and things like that, it categorizes all of that stuff for me and then I can resolve those issues accordingly. The last thing is business planning, right? So we talked about idea generation, lead generation, SWOT analysis, all of those things that you can generate right within ChatGPT or Conversate. Just for the heck of it, let's do a SWOT analysis really quick. I don't know if you all have ever done a SWOT analysis here. If we wanted to just go back up here, because right now it's trained on you know, pulling grant information and stuff, let's just go back up here to edit after we put in information about our company. So before this RFP, or we can just do it after this. I don't think it'll let me edit with a doc in there. Okay, so let's do this. Create a SWOT analysis for me and make it in depth and personable. Let's say that. So then it gives me my my strengths. So what sets us apart? We're mission driven always. I like to say I went from corporate to community. Right? Track record, our unique blend of tech and policy, right? So those are our strengths, our weaknesses. capacity limits. We are a lean team. We do have limited national brand visibility for now, right? We're known really well in Washington, but how do we move out? And the fact that it knows that is kind of scary. Infrastructure funding for R&D, and then non-traditional model can confuse funders. So yeah, because we're a for-profit engineering firm that's focused on mission-driven impact. So where are the dollars, right? And so that's, non-traditional model can confuse funders. So this is good, right? So it goes into my weaknesses, my opportunities, right? And where I can go here. And then I can rework this. I can actually put this into a table. So let's do the table now. So now based on this information, put this into a table for me. Okay, so I don't like that. So we're gonna say I can copy and paste. So then in the chat, sometimes it'll start generating content. So if you're writing, it'll start generating the content outside of the chat. All you have to do is just go back up and tell it, hey, I just want it to stay inside the chat. Otherwise, it'll start analyzing and then grouping things in like these bubbles, right? So how it did the SWOT analysis table in there. Well, I want it to actually do it in the chat. So then it will go from that to now, well, I don't want this, right? So this is more of the copy. And so now we can work with this a little bit more to say, and there we go. Kind of a little bit better table that I can actually copy. And then once I copy this table, let me show you all what it looks like in my notes. It will actually have borders and things around it. So then it'll be an actual table if I can pull this up. Okay, let's just, and so when I copy that, see, it puts it into an actual table. Awesome. So moving on, we talked about marketing, we talked about grants and proposal writing, we talked about streamlining operations, we talked about customer service, and we talked about business planning, right? All with using ChatGPT. Now, going into the next one, we talked about Google Gemini. I don't want to spend too much time on this unless you all wanted to dive deeper into a certain section, but we did go over Gmail and Sheets and Drive and Docs and Slides, and how Gemini is embedded into that, how we're moving into a more AI augmented society. As I was mentioning earlier, we are moving away from having conversations with these tools to now these tools understanding those conversations and acting on their own, okay? And so AI agents, to give you all some context, essentially can complete multi-step tasks for you. So we're moving away from something like ChatGPT where I conversate with it, I tell it exactly what to do, right? And then it does that, right? So I'm asking, hey, create a blog for me. Now it can actually go beyond that, and based on the historical information on how you've written before, based on your LinkedIn, based on your Instagram, based on whatever that is, that data, right? Now the AI agent can actively generate 3 topics for you to write on a daily basis, right? That's tailored to your specific writing. For example, it can then also write for you as well. And so we'll go in, that's one example of something like blogs that now you don't have to conversate with ChatGPT to get the results. You will wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and you have 3 topics of discussion that you can choose from that are tailored to your business, and then you can choose exactly what you want to write on. So it takes away ideation, right? Not so much from you, because you can still ideate in the platform, but it takes away this whole notion that you have to spend 5 hours on creating an article now or a blog. So you can think of them as digital employees, right? Tasks like scheduling, data pools, responding to emails, doing all of those things. That is what an AI agent does, right? And so you can think of them as digital workers, digital employees. Marblism, This link is in you all's one-pager, so I would say click on the link there. You can play around with it. I'll also demo it now. But Marbleism is a great example of how I was talking about earlier. There's AI engineering, so there's people that are building these agents with N8N. There are people that are building chatbots, that are building models, right? But then there's AI as a service in which we adopt those tools, right? So you can think of it as a SaaS solution, something like DocuSign, which you once logged into or that you log into to be able to access. You log into ChatGPT to be able to access that as well. So it's AI as a service. And so we're seeing AI agents, instead of us having to create or develop them on the engineering side, they're now becoming readily available for us to be able to adopt. So you can think of them as AI as a service, and that's Marbleism. Marbleism essentially is 5 workers. It's your executive assistant, it's a lead generation tool, it's a blog writer, it's a social media post person, and a legal consultant as well. And so we'll go into this and just the power behind having a system like this, where traditionally, right, if you're paying an executive assistant 30, 40, whatever an hour, now Marbleism can take hold of the executive assistant side to where you can move that person into more operations or boots to the ground work or whatever that is for $27 a month. So Marbleism is $27 and you get 5 employees. And so I will show you all exactly what that is in just a second. So this is Marbleism, right? So this is Eva, my executive assistant. And so essentially I told her, right, to add these events, if it would load, back on my calendar. I haven't interacted with her in some time, but it was earlier, right, just around some events that are coming up. And so she said, you'll see that the details have been added to your calendar. All that I had to do was copy and paste the information around the programs themselves, right? All I did was just copied all of this and just said, add these to my calendar, right? And I copied this email from the Cannabis Alliance that they had sent this to me, right? We have events coming up. And then she took out all of the events and then added them directly to my calendar. Not only that, she organized 1,200 and some odd emails of mine, 1,237 emails of mine, 257, emails of mine. And actually categorized and labeled and tagged them. And so now any emails that are coming in are actually tagged as that specific client with WDC or with any new leads and things of that nature. So this is your true executive assistant. You can set up guidelines and parameters around how you interact with Eva as well. But anything from scheduling, your calendar, your emails and interactions there. My emails, when I go to it and somebody sends me an email, when I go to my inbox, a draft email is already sitting in my inbox, ready to send back to them. Because Eva has connected directly on the back end to my Google Calendar, to my Gmail as well, and writes like me and takes that information for me as well. This morning, I wrote this LinkedIn post. Right? So every morning at 8 o'clock, you see at 8:20, you see at 8:05, you see at 8:13, you see at 8:07, at 8:08, right? Every morning I get 3 ideas based on my business, and it has connected to my LinkedIn, to my Facebook, to my Instagram, and actually generates content that I can write on specific to my business, right? So how AI is transforming nonprofit impact measurement. Come on now, that's what we do. We move away from KPIs into measuring true impact, right? And so it's actually scraping my LinkedIn, what I've previously written on my Facebook, on my Instagram, right? And then not only can I publish or can I create here, but then I can publish directly here as well. So I can schedule out all of my content that I want. I can select the date that I want to publish to LinkedIn. I can select the hours, the minutes, and then confirm exactly when I want to publish this. Let's just say, okay, I never just publish directly. I always edit before, so I can edit exactly all the information that's in there, right? And then take out pictures, rearrange things. Here's the image and video or image, right? I can upload the image. I can take this out, right? I'm not a fan of that one, so I took that one out. And then publish directly to LinkedIn. And so I took this information earlier and created, a social media post, but then also I did a blog earlier as well, just around this. And so again, this is scraping. You can see here, these are drafts and it organizes it for you. So you can see all of the draft posts. You can see exactly when they're being scheduled, the ones that are set to be published as well. And then the accounts, right? So you can connect. I just have my LinkedIn account connected here and my Instagram, right? But here you can connect your Facebook, you can connect your Twitter, you can connect all of these different accounts that it's actively scraping and then being able to generate content and for you to publish to those platforms as well. The same thing with blogs. So this is long form content. So every day I am given blogs. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, right, she sends all of these. So how AI and community data are transforming social impact. Real life lessons from the data guys, right? And let's just say, okay, well, I want to take this and I actually want to write on this. So I can go back to all of this content that's been generated before, all of these ideas that have been generated before, or I can just go with, day by day, right, as they're coming in, exactly what that looks like. So this morning she sent this, and she actually followed up with me. And she was like, hey, I wanted to follow up from what I sent you yesterday. And then, hey, Marlon, just checking in. Did any of those blog titles from yesterday catch your eye? What does that look like, right? And so it keeps you on track. So it's not gonna allow you to not post, right? And so within that, I said, hey, the real story behind measuring social good. I just copied and pasted this from number 2. And then it generated the blog for me. I went in and edited it. Right? So you can go in and you can edit the actual blog itself. You can take out the pictures, all of this. And then it actually writes the content the way that I would write the content. I do not have to change too much of this because it directly connects to my LinkedIn, to my Instagram, to write, and it is trained on my language and how I'm writing. So now, any questions on executive assistant, social media, blog writer, before we get into the sales associate? Stan is my favorite. Stan is my favorite. Why? Because he sources me leads, active leads from LinkedIn, from Instagram, from all of these places that are directly related to my business, right? So if you are having a problem with lead generation, Stan is the man. And so you can actually see, right? So these are the messages at 8 o'clock, right? At 8 o'clock every day, it sources 4 new leads, 8 new leads, 9 new leads, 9 new leads, right? All of these different things here. But then within this, it actually categorizes it for you in a CRM type of way. So you can actually see who that person is, what their company is, what their LinkedIn profile is, and then it categorizes it as a new lead as well. Not only that, it actually generates the content for you to then message those individuals as well. So it does cold emails, it does direct messaging, outreach via LinkedIn, and then you can actually do the email outreach for these individuals as well. And so let's just say, okay, I was, who was it that I was talking with earlier? So when you click on it, it'll actually take you to their LinkedIn account. And then we were actually talking earlier. Any questions on Stan before we move into the customer support tickets? I just had a couple come in at 5:20. Awesome. So customer support. So when we talk about customer support, right, these are things that have come in, right? So I can open this one. This may get a little bit personal with financials, so we might need to get out of this, but let's just see. So I'm trying to get this over, but it's not. Okay, there we go. So essentially, without me even having to go through the whole email exchange, right? So Sade essentially was asking for about a final funding request for outreach tabling that equated to 2501, basically talking about couldn't it find the documentation, but how should we advise? So it started asking me questions, right? So how should we advise the customers? How is it possible for them to transfer funds, things of that nature? Once I have your guidance, I can draft a solid response for the customer, right? So it takes in the information that the customer has brought in, opens a ticket, right? And then not only does it bring in the information, it analyzes it in real time, will generate questions for you to then respond to, so then it can generate responses to the customer and things of that nature. And then it can map out exactly what's going on with the client as well. I use this a lot. This was already resolved, but I use this a lot for like customer support tickets on the digital side. So if somebody's having security issues, which we don't want that, we haven't had that, or has like a data issue or need a report or something like that, that's what I typically use this for. And then the last one is the legal assistant. So the legal assistant will actually read legal documents, generate legal documents. So I ask it about an operating agreement, and then, it started asking me all these questions around this, right? And then I was just like, can you just give me a generic one, right? Just so I can see exactly what it is. And then it gave me a generic one, right? And kind of filled out all of the information. I can go in and plug and play in this information as well. But any legal documentation that needs to be read, that needs to be further examined for any pain points or redlining that needs to happen, it can do that, right? And so you can drag and drop it into the chat. You can also have it generate legal documents for you as well. And this is a trained attorney with over 25 years of experience. And so that's what we mean when AI can take on personas, right? When we can say, act as a data analyst with 20 years of experience in ChatGPT, act as, whatever that is, and it can actually take on those personas. These are moving away from conversations, having it take on those personas, to actually now these are personas that are actively working towards your business. Does this make sense? AI agents, what they are. Do you all see now we were at a point, right, with ChatGPT on conversations. We're still there, right? It's still very fresh and new to people as well. But now we're seeing this transition into AI agents and automating a lot of the work that was being done with ChatGPT as well. And so with that, I know we're getting close on time. Oops, let me get back to this. So getting started, right? So going back to what you were talking about earlier, how do you get started? First, starting with ChatGPT or Gemini to just build comfort. Start utilizing Gemini in your workspace. Utilize Microsoft Copilot in your Microsoft workspace as well. Utilize ChatGPT, right? And I'm sure that you all are already adopting, especially ChatGPT, but how do we start utilizing a little bit more in there, like the deep research or some of the other GPTs within ChatGPT, or any other things there. So play around with it. That's the best bet, is to get your feet wet with the tools themselves and actually utilizing the tools. And then start identifying repeatable tasks. Right? So if you catch yourself going in and you're trying to generate a prompt to generate a blog every day, okay, well, that's becoming quite repetitive. So how do we supplement that with things like AI agents to be able to take away all of the repetitive tasks and automate, right, what's being done within ChatGPT as well. If you're generating emails, right, for me, I was actually copying the email from Gmail, then copying that over to ChatGPT, then saying, respond to this and make it personable, right? And then it was thinking, and then it would process, and then I would have to copy that back and all of that. Now I just go to my inbox and the message is right there, right? I can tweak it if I want, and then I just press send, right?
Well, it was physically because of your Because you're your agent.
Yes, the agent actually puts, so I don't have to respond to my, I basically set up the guidelines to say, hey, I don't want you sending my emails for me, but I do want you to draft the emails for me. And so anytime a new email comes in, I mean, it is instant. A reply is surfaced at the top of my inbox that I can then send back to the client. And then the next thing is check out the trainings. So I did provide a list of trainings on the one pager for you all. That includes prompt engineering. It includes some basic Google business and Gemini trainings. It includes, it's just a few different trainings that are very foundational, but I feel are very necessary for small businesses to be able to understand and further adopt a lot of these tools. And then let's stay connected, right? So the dataguys.org, you all can scan that QR code, and that is my direct contact information. So that will give you my email, that'll give you my phone number, that'll give you everything if you scan that, and then it should be able to sync directly in, and you should be able to create a new contact if you have an iPhone. So once it pops up, you can just go down to the bottom, and then it should say create new contact, and then you all can save my contact information as well.
Thank you.
For sure. And I am offering, right, for you all a free 30-minute consultation. So if you all want to sit down for 30 minutes to go over any of this a little bit more in depth, we'll be more than happy to do so. You can book some time there with the QR code. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to Demystifying AI for your small business. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach us at www.thedataguys.org, or you can reach us via the links that are provided with our Calendly and book some time directly with us. Till next time, thank you so much.